Good morning, cadets. Hope all of you are fine. Today I'll be taking up the exercise of the poem Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. Question number 1. How has the poet observed nature in the poem Dust of Snow? The poet has observed nature as a positive medium of change for him. The poet had been in a sorrowful and depressive mood in the poem, but then the way a crow shook snow dust off, it changed his mind. Nature gave him the inspiration to behave in a positive way. Question number 2. What does the poet want to convey through the poem Dust of Snow? Answer. In the poem Dust of Snow, the poet wants to convey that sometimes certain moments or actions which are simple have a larger significance. They change the mood or life of a person. The crow shakes down the dust of snow on the poet and gives him the idea to shake off his depressive thoughts. He becomes cheerful and decides to do something useful. Question number 3. What side of nature do crow and hemlock tree represent? Crow is a black, harsh voiced bird, and hemlock is a tree with poisonous, bitter fruit. Both are not beautiful. They represent dark, depressive, sorrowful, and bitter side of nature. Question number 4. Why does the poet use such poetically uncommon bird and tree? What does it reflect? The poet seems to be in a depressive mood. In such a mood, one cannot think of sweet and beautiful side of nature. The harsh, bitter, and poisonous images come to his mind. That is why he uses an uncommon, harsh, ugly crow and poisonous tree like hemlock. Question number 5. Justify the role of the crow in the poem Dust of Snow in changing the poet's mood. I think the way snow dust was shaken off changed his mood. Perhaps it gave the poet inspiration, idea to behave in the same manner, shake off his depressive thought and revive his cheerful mood. Question number 6. What mood of the poet is reflected in the poem? How does it reflect? Answer. The sorrowful and depressive mood of the poet is reflected in the poem. The use of the bird crow, which is ugly and harsh, and the hemlock tree, which is poisonous plant, reflect the poet's mood. What did the poet think of the day before the dust of snow fell on him? Before the fall of the dust of snow, the poet thought that his day was ruined. He was in a bad mood. But when the dust of snow fell on him, it signaled something good and joyful, and his mood changed. Write a note on the setting of the poem. The poem presents a perfect setting. There are four elements in the poem. All these four elements match one another. The snow stands for depression. The hemlock tree is a symbol of sadness. The crow is considered inauspicious or ominous. The poet's mood was also sad. But suddenly, the way in which the crow shook the hemlock tree and falling off the dust of snow changed the poet's mood. Where was the poet and what happened to him? The poet was under a hemlock tree and there was snow everywhere. The tree was covered with snow. Suddenly, a crow shook the tree. The dust of snow fell on the poet. It changed his mood. How was the poet's mood? What brought a sudden change in it? The poet was in a bad mood. He considered that his day was ruined, but the crow shook the tree and dust of snow fell on him. His mood changed and the rest of the day was saved for him. Long answers. Question number 1. Positive attitude in life can make the world a better place to live in. Do you agree or disagree with reference to the poem Dust of Snow? I completely agree with the statement that a positive attitude can make the world a better place to live in. Robert Frost in Dust of Snow talks of how an otherwise bad day altered into not so bad one due to the action of a crow. It was a seemingly disconnected occurrence that brought about a change of mood in the poet. One lesson that can be learned from the poet is to see the brighter side when you are gloomy. The crow, the hemlock, and the snow are all dark images, and yet the poet sees the color of happiness. Another lesson is that life is made up of small joys. It is through them that one can always manage to see positivity in negativity. So, positive attitude in life is very important for oneself also, and it can make the world a better place to live in. A very beautiful message by the poet Robert Frost. Question number 2. Our attitude towards a situation evokes both negative and positive response. Analyze this with reference to the poem Dust of Snow to bring out the inherent valuable lessons. Whatever situation life throws at us, it evokes both positive and negative responses. The poet in the poem Dust of Snow was in a sorrowful mood. However, when a crow shook down the dust of snow on him, his bitter mood changed into more optimistic one. Now, being in a sorrowful or bad mood already, the poet could have got angry at the crow also. However, the dust of snow becomes a positive medium of change for him. It made him cheerful to some extent and helped him forget his sadness, at least for a few moments. Thus, we see that instead of seeing the negative aspect of a happening, one should see the positive aspect, and one's response may greatly affect the outcome of incidents. This also is a very beautiful question which tells us that life may give us many situations, but if we don't respond or respond positively, then life is different. Otherwise, we remain negative. The poet was in a depressive mood. He was sitting under a hemlock tree. It was a poisonous plant. The crow, which is not a very beautiful bird. So everything around was negative. So when the crow shook the hemlock tree and a dust of snow fell on the poet could have become negative and spoiled the second half of the day also. But he did not do so. He became positive and decided to do something useful and constructive. So, our attitude towards a situation evokes both negative and positive response. So, we have to decide when something happens whether to respond positively or in a negative manner. Question number 3. The poet has succeeded in giving valuable information in a light-hearted manner. What creates the desired effect? Highlight its importance in present day. Truly, Robert Frost has used simple language to drive home a very significant message that little things sometimes have a big impact. An easy, uncomplicated language coupled with unusual visual imagery and brevity of words create the desired effect. The poet's bitterness finds reflection even in the environment around him. The noisy, dark crow, the poisonous hemlock, the icy snow around, all are essentially depressing images. However, despite the negativity, when the crow shakes down the dust of snow onto the poet, it also shakes off some of the poet's regretful thoughts. Today, when all of us live in a stressful atmosphere, we are undergoing the pandemic times. Really, life is very challenging. We are not able to do things as per our choice and desires. We are confined to our homes so that our health remains intact, but the time is very challenging. So we have to see the positive aspect when things are negative. So the poem teaches us to gain happiness from little things. It teaches us that we should always remain positive. Extract based questions. First extract. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. Questions. What did the crow do to the hemlock tree? What was there on the tree at that time? Where do you think was the poet then? Name the poem and the poet. Answers. The crow shook the hemlock tree. There was snow in the tree at that time. Then the poet was under a hemlock tree. The name of the poem is Dust of Snow and the poet is Robert Frost. Second extract. Has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rode. Questions. What had given the poet a change of mood? What had the poet thought of the day? How was some part of the day saved for the poet? What is the rhyme scheme of this stanza? Answers. The falling of dust of snow on the poet had changed his mood. He had felt sad about that day, but the fall of snow dust changed his mood. He stopped ruining the day and his mood changed. What is the rhyme scheme? So, heart and part, they are rhyming. Mood and rude are rhyming. So, the rhyming scheme of the stanza is AB AB. Some home assignment for you. You can answer it at home. What did the poet think of the day before the fall of dust of snow on him? What is the central idea of the poem? What do the crow and hemlock symbolize? What does the poet mean when he says, saved some part of the day? Where was the crow sitting and what did it do? Two more questions. What is the underlining message for us about our hectic life in the poem Dust of Snow? Our mental condition depends on our surroundings. Explain with reference to the poem Dust of Snow. This is home assignment for you. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Good morning, everyone. Today it's I, Kirat Ravitesh, going to brief you all about the poem The Dust of Snow. Dust of Snow is a short yet very powerful and beautiful poem written by Robert Frost. Here, the poet wants to convey the bold messages. Some of the bold messages are the positive change can also take place in the prevailing negativity also. And some of the little incidents often considered as insignificant can change lives. We can change our perceiving of things and which can have a greater impact in our lives. So to prove these statements, I would like to narrate a story. The story is of King Bruce and the spider. Long ago, long ago, King Bruce was ruling the Scotland. His life was very prosperous. Everything was well and good. And one day, the Englishmen attacked the palace and commenced the war. The Englishmen emerged victorious. The war lasted for many days, and the King Bruce took refuge in a cave. Devastated by his defeat, he just slept, and when he woke up, he saw a spider which was weaving the web. It fell off from the roof of the cave, but that did not make any difference to it. It tried once again and made it attempt, but again it had fallen. Several failures did not dampen the spirit of the spider. He was motivated by the spider. Taking the spider as a source of motivation, he went on to defeat the Englishmen and reconquered his territory. So this just a little small incident changed the history. So these all sort of small incidents take place in our lives also, but we fail to acknowledge them. So we have to perceive things in a different angle and look at it. So I would like to conclude that there is a silver lining in every cloud. So be positive and look positive. Thank you.